Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly fascinating. We are mapping out the incredible evolution of ancient Indian spiritual traditions. We'll be tracing how these belief systems shifted over centuries, going from these massive cosmic theories about the very fabric of the universe, all the way down to deeply personal, human expressions of devotion. There is a ton of rich history and profound philosophy to unpack here, and as always, we've structured it visually to help you grasp these massive concepts in no time.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be looking at 1. Cosmic time and divine forms. 2. The rise of devotion. 3. Philosophy of selfless action. 4. Sacred epics and symbolism. And finally, 5. The geography of faith. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Cosmic time and divine forms.
Okay, so we have to start with the absolute macro view here. Long before people were focused on their daily personal rituals, ancient Indian cosmogony was conceptualizing the universe on a scale that is honestly mind-bending. To really understand their worldview, you've got to realize they didn't see time as a straight line. Not at all. It was cyclical. They divided time into 4 distinct epochs: the Kreta, the Treta, the Dwapara, and finally, the Kali Yuga. The belief was that the universe just sequentially cycles through these vast ages over and over, essentially acting as this continuous cosmic rhythm of creation and transformation.
But how do you actually get everyday people to comprehend these wildly abstract cosmic concepts? Well, they synthesize them into physical forms. Take Ardhanarishvara, for example. This is a composite, androgynous form of the Hindu god Shiva and his consort Parvati, and they are quite literally split right down the middle. The right half usually depicts the male Shiva with his traditional attributes. So this isn't just a cool artistic image, right? It perfectly represents the absolute synthesis of the masculine and feminine energies of the universe. It's a vivid way of saying that Shakti, the female principle, is entirely inseparable from Shiva, the male principle.
And man, these cosmic myths could be incredibly action-packed. If you read the ancient texts known as the Puranas, the imagery is just off the charts. Lord Vishnu famously takes the form of Varaha, which is this magnificent giant boar. In this incarnation, he has a human body but the head of a boar, and he's literally depicted balancing the entire earth on his teeth as he rises up out of the sea. Why? To save it from this giant demon named Hiranyaksha. He uses his 4 arms, holding a Shankha, Chakra, Gada, and Padma, to basically battle for the rescue of the earth. It is a wildly dynamic visual representation of cosmic preservation.
Section 2. The rise of devotion.
Now, as we shift gears away from those grand universe-saving epics, the historical record shows something super fascinating. We start to see ordinary humans wanting a much more direct, deeply personal connection with the divine, completely bypassing those overly complex cosmic rituals. A huge catalyst for this happened down in medieval South India, specifically in the Tamil regions. You basically had 2 major sects driving this devotional spirit. On one side, the Alavars. These were deeply devoted worshippers of Vishnu, featuring famous saints like Poigai, Pudam, and Tirumangai. On the flip side, you had the Nayanars, who were fiercely devoted to Shiva. But what actually unites them, and why they're so historically significant, is that both of these groups stood firmly against the rigid caste systems of their time. They preached that personal love and just absolute dedication to God was the true path to moksha, or spiritual liberation.
But this personal devotion didn't just stay a grassroots movement, it went all the way to the top. The Bhagavata, or Vaishnava religion, hit its absolute peak when the Gupta kings actually made it the official state religion. The Gupta rulers proudly took on the title of Param Bhagavata, and they made the Garuda, which is the traditional mount of Lord Vishnu, their official state symbol. This whole movement was totally centered around the supreme personality of Lord Krishna, also known as Vasudeva, the son of Devaki. It also heavily featured his brother Balaram, or Haldar, who you'll often see depicted holding a plow. The Bhagavata cult even laid out the framework for how to practice this, recognizing 9 distinct forms of bhakti to achieve moksha.
And there's this incredible historical micro-story that just perfectly illustrates how far this faith spread. It's the Garuda Pillar of Odisha. This is literally the very first stone monument related to the Bhagavata religion. But guess who commissioned it? A Greek ambassador. A Yavana ambassador from Taxila named Heliodorus. The inscription on the pillar actually states that he accepted the faith, calling himself a Bhagavata, and he recognized Vasudeva as the god of gods. It's just an amazing testament to the cross-cultural appeal this movement had.
Meanwhile, up in northern India, devotion was taking on a slightly different, much more austere flavor. You had groups like the Nathpantis, Siddhas, and Yogis making their own form of bhakti popular, but their approach was intense. They heavily criticized conventional religious rituals and the established social order. Instead, they argued that a direct spiritual connection could only be achieved through the strict renunciation of the physical world.
Section 3. Philosophy of Selfless Action.
All right, so we've looked at the cosmos and the rise of devotion, but now we really need to shift our focus inward, to the rigorous philosophy of personal action and duty. To get this, we have to look back to a massive intellectual fork in the road that happened around the 6th century BC. Thinkers basically fell into one of two camps. The Astika sect belonged to those who firmly believed in the strict authenticity and authority of the ancient Vedic texts. On the other hand, the Nastika sect was made up of folks who did not believe in the authenticity of the Vedas, so they forged entirely different philosophical paths.
For those who stayed on the Vedic path, specifically the Vedanta tradition, three major epics became the absolute heavy hitters. Collectively, they're called the Prastantrayi. First, you have the Upanishads, considered the prime foundational texts. Second is the Brahma Sutra, which is super famous for the commentary written by the oldest Vedanta acharya, Shankaracharya. And third is the universally renowned Bhagavad Gita. What makes the Gita so incredibly influential is how brilliantly it balances the three paths to spiritual liberation: jnana, which is knowledge; karma, which is action; and bhakti, which is devotion. It gives equal, perfect weight to all three.
And that brings us to arguably the central, most powerful theme of the Bhagavad Gita, a concept known as Nishkama Karma Yoga. Act unselfishly or without personal gain in mind. It asserts that the highest possible form of action is just performing your duties without any expectation whatsoever that good will be returned to you. You do it purely because it's the right thing to do, completely detaching yourself from the fruits of your labor.
So, here's the question. Why act if you aren't expecting a reward? I really want you to think about this in the context of our own modern lives. We live in a world that is totally obsessed with metrics, ROI, and immediate gratification, right? This ancient philosophy of selfless action, Nishkama Karma, might honestly be the ultimate antidote to modern anxiety and burnout. When you finally detach your self-worth from the immediate rewards of your work, you find this really profound, structured peace in the action itself.
Section 4. Sacred Epics and Symbolism.
So, how did these incredibly dense philosophical frameworks actually reach the masses back then? It was through masterful storytelling, grand literature, and some seriously powerful visual symbolism. In the ancient world, iconography was basically visual shorthand. Shiva is instantly identified by the trident. Vishnu? He's got the chakra. Ganesh holds a rope or noose, and Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and arts, is always depicted with the veena. These weren't just random props, they were powerful mnemonic devices. They instantly communicated the domains and powers of these deities to anyone who saw them, regardless of whether or not they could read ancient Sanskrit. And beyond the visual symbols, the sheer scale of the storytelling in these epics is just staggering. Take Naimisharanya in Uttar Pradesh. Tradition holds that a mind-blowing 60,000 hermits gathered there just to hear Sud Goswami narrate the entire Mahabharata epic. Then you have the Ramayana, authored by Valmiki. It's broken into 7 massive khans, or books, including the famous 4th one, Kishkindakanda, where Rama first meets Hanuman. And then, way out east in the Assam region, Sage Markandeya composed the Kalika Purana. That one focuses heavily on the legends of Devi trying to pull Shiva back from his intense ascetic life and into the world of love and family.
And speaking of love, it wasn't all just strict asceticism and duty. These ancient texts got incredibly real about human desire and intoxication. They literally had a deity for it, Kamdeva, the Hindu god of human love, along with his wife Rati. Kamdeva has these amazingly evocative names like Madana, meaning intoxicating, and Manmatha, which translates so beautifully to the churner of hearts. It just shows a really complete, holistic view of the human experience.
Section 5. The Geography of Faith.
Finally, let's map out how all these internal beliefs, cosmic theories, and mythic stories manifest into actual physical spaces. The sheer physical scale of devotion is probably best seen in its massive festivals. The Rath Yatra is this huge annual celebration in Puri, Orissa, where people pull these giant chariots to honor Lord Jagannath, Balram, and Subhadra. But even more expansive than that is the Kumbh Mela. This happens every 12 years, and it physically maps the faith across 4 massive river systems in India: the Godavari and Nasik, the Ganga in Haridwar, the confluence of the Ganga and Yamuna at Prayag, and the river Shipra in Ujjain. It is a literal, breathtaking mobilization of humanity based entirely on spiritual belief.
And this urge to carve out holy geography, that is a universally human trait across all traditions. We see it with Medina in Saudi Arabia acting as the second sanctum of Islam. We see it with Vatican City in Italy, the sovereign capital of the Roman Catholic Church. It's in Pavapuri in Bihar, India, the absolute holiest place for Jains, marking where Mahavir Swami died in 527 BC. And of course, Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, the ancient center of education and culture, right on the banks of the Ganga. As a species, we just invariably map our highest ideals onto the physical earth.
So we've seen how our ancestors structured their entire concept of time, wrote incredible literature, and quite literally carved physical landscapes out of the earth in their quest for devotion and selfless action. So the question we got to ask ourselves today is this: what shapes our personal landscapes right now? What are the modern mythologies and quests for meaning that are guiding your actions today? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating historical terrain with me in today's Explainer, and I encourage you to keep questioning and keep learning. Catch you next time.